Welcome to Shop Talk Live, episode number 265. Anissa, Mike, me in the shop, yapping about woodworking. What else can you ask for? Quick note, I mentioned doing a live stream last episode, and that didn't happen because I wasn't able to leave my house for about a week. Wonder what was going on there. But we're going to be doing live streams, so be on the lookout on our YouTube page for a reminder on our upcoming live stream. And we'll get that ball rolling soon. I don't have anything specific to promo on this week's episode, but I do have a request. If you're into what we do on Shop Talk and you're listening, so I think you are, I'm going to request that you sign up for the Fine Woodworking e-letter. It comes out on Saturdays. It's written by somebody in editorial, most often by me, and it just features everything that we've published on the website in a given week. A lot of people say that they didn't know something was happening or they didn't see something. If you want to be in the loop about all things fine woodworking, you got to sign up for the e-letter. So head on over to finewoodworking.com/newsletter and sign up for the e-letter. You don't have to do the promo newsletter. You don't have to do any of that stuff. Just sign up for the e-letter. Stay in the know. We're doing a lot these days and we're doing more and more every week. So if you want to keep up with everything that we're doing, this is the best way. All right. With that said, on with the show.
Is it time for a commercial break?
I don't think we've started yet. It's getting a little weird.
Yeah.
I demand a makeup artist from now on.
You demand a makeup artist from now on?
Yeah. Can you see the black and blue and the black eyes?
What? Yeah, I saw it. I wasn't going to point it out on air. What's up?
Well, we can let everybody think that Mike hit me. Or I can tell you I got a baseball in the head.
Ow.
Yeah.
Which child?
I'm not outing one of my children on a podcast that 20 years from now, one of them might see.
Was it like an errant throw or a foul tip or a
It was a line drive to the forehead.
line drive?
Okay. So
Yeah. Yep. Wow. So, but some semi-related to woodworking involving it. Well, one is I think my Ray-Bans saved me because I got hit like here and here where the cut is across the bridge of my nose. And I think that wire on my glasses, so I think the ball hit here and then here. And that's why I have that cut in between my eyes now. But so it was a very clean, straight cut. So she decided instead of doing stitches, she was going to just glue it. So basically, they CA glued my head. Like 5 layers of CA glue.
5 layers?
Yeah, so maybe 3, but a bunch. So there, up until this morning, there was this giant glob of CA glue, and then she put steri strips over it. But up until this morning, there was this, it looked like a giant booger in between my eyes. And so I went back for a follow-up yesterday, and she told me something. Here's the woodworking related part. I didn't know this. Maybe everybody else knows this. Maybe you guys know this. I said, can we just get the big glob of glue out? And she said, no, you need to wait a couple more days, because you can't really see under there. And it looked like it was still really open. And I'm surprised after a week how closed it is with the CA glue. Nothing. She said, in 2 days, you can get hydrogen peroxide and it melts the glue. And so last night and this morning, I got the hydrogen. I'm sure she's not listening to this. I got the peroxide and it totally melts the CA glue.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah. Interesting, right?
Wow.
I was amazed. I just got it on a Q-tip and I was just like, and it melted the CA glue. I didn't know it either. I'm so glad you guys didn't know it.
No.
So, okay.
It's like hide glue. It's the new hide glue. CA glue is the new hide glue.
All the period furniture makers are throwing up and turning off the podcast right now. But my question is, was it like a bottle of Loctite or something? Or
I wasn't really paying attention.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I bet you they're just peeling the sticker off a hardware store CA glue.
Well, I don't think so because I read they do something to sterilize the glue so that you're not getting infected.
Do you want to know something that's really stupid to me? Anytime something stings, I feel like it's sterile. So like,
Oh.
because you put like when you put alcohol or hydrogen peroxide on a cut, it stings.
Yeah.
And you think, okay, that's good. That's a good pain. But like if I got CA glue in a cut and it would sting, I'd be like, that's a good pain. But maybe it's not sterile. See, we need Wilbur Pan on this episode, not last episode.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd say it's pretty sterile.
Okay. Just roll with it.
It worked. I'm shocked. I had never glued any cuts before.
I glued my fingers together.
I've done that.
I did it for a video. Like I glued them. And I was able to work them apart with just
nail polish remover?
No, soap and water.
Okay.
But like it's like the rubbing motion as opposed to trying to pull it apart.
Right.
Yep.
So
hydrogen peroxide.
Probably have cuts on multiple occasions in the past.
I used to do it playing guitar. When your nails would pull away, from overplaying. So you just, yeah. And then you like tell yourself, Stevie Ray Vaughan did this, so I'm like him.
What if we get Barry to glue his fingers together and we see if the hydrogen peroxide works?
What's funny is whenever one of you is on the show and the other one's not, they're like saying the awful things that we should do to the other one.
Really? Should I listen to the podcast more?
I think last time we were sitting right here, Barry declared that we need to sneak into your shop and steal all the hand tool holders.
To put them back on the wall. No way, man. They were going to go in the garbage if I didn't take them, so consider them gone. There are a couple I'm not using.
That's okay. I'm making new ones Monday.
Cool.
Yeah. What was I gonna? I almost just.
You're distracted by my black and blue marks.
No, I'm distracted by my own stupidity. So this is a very disorganized, thrown together last minute episode. So I didn't think about
questions.
Well, I sent out questions yesterday, but I didn't think of a tip or what do we do? How many episodes have I hosted?
Potpurri.
Okay, we're doing the potpurri now. But I did something yesterday that I thought was really, really clever. And I had to cut little teeny tiny, I was cutting braces for ukulele. Imagine Kumiko strips. And I was using my little Japanese saw. And I thought, you know what? Maybe I should make a little holder like Mike has for sawing apart little strips. And then I realized, wait a minute, if I just put a piece of wood in my vise, that's plenty. That's a saw stop or not? What are they? I'm
Split.
really a what?
What?
Huh?
What are you talking about?
Did you say a spoon?
A splitter.
Oh, no. A bench hook. But like just a little piece of wood sticking up out above the bench top in your vise.
Oh yeah.
And you can just saw against that with a Japanese saw. I guess you could do it the other way too.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to make a fancy little bench hook.
Yeah, that's great.
Mike's proud.
So are we doing a segment now? Is that the word you were searching for, segment?
Yeah, sure. I'm really on the ball today.
Can I do my segment?
Sure. Let's just throw this up on end.
Okay. Nancy Hiller. I was just out there a few weeks ago shooting the Voisey chair that she does, that heart. Yeah. She gave me a roll of hockey tape. What? You know what it's for?
Tool handles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For wrapping the tops of my my clamp handles.
Clamping
handles.
Yeah.
Really, really great gift and very useful.
Oh, cool.
It's fun wrapping them too.
Especially the Bessie K-body clamps with those super slippery, small diameter red handles. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I've got some of the Pony smaller ones. And they're small handles, but they're also like highly varnished. It's like, they're like, let's make this as slippery as possible. I hope we're not sponsored by Pony this episode. But they're like, let's make it as slippery as possible. I need to do that.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Nancy. Somebody gave her the idea. I can't remember who, but she ordered hockey tape and she got this huge bundle of it.
It's actually hard to find hockey tape in Connecticut. You can buy it by the bucket in Canada. I've seen it.
Because you need a bucket of it in Canada.
I guess so.
Take 2 buckets, please.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when I put hockey tape on. I've got a hammer that I did it on, but I had to search around all over the place for it. So. Mike, do you have one?
It's handle grip related.
Really?
Yeah, I got a super cool, really, really high quality chisel that someone actually made for me. Thanks very much, for Kumiko. So everything's the right size, right shape, but the handle is made from like a stunning piece of really tight tiger maple. And it's been sanded super smooth and polished with lacquer. So it's just like a mirror finish, but it's too slippery, but it's beautiful. And so I hated to do it, but I just got some lacquer thinner and I took the finish off of it. And then I got a card scraper and I just sort of scraped all the way around it along the length of it to create sort of more kind of textured, almost very, very fine facets. Because that's what I do to get the lacquer off my Japanese chisel handles. And then I just put some like camellia oil on top of that just to seal the wood. But I felt like I was really defacing a really gorgeous tool, but in the end, it made it much more usable. So
I would think that the person who made that chisel would be just happy that it's getting truly used.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Okay. It's a beautiful tool. Or it was.
Still is. I think it's even more so because it's fitted to its task.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to derail you.
No.
So go ahead.
There is no rail.
There's no rail?
No.
So that kind of ties into, you shouldn't give me a wheelie chair. That ties into, here, I'll just hold the rail. It'll keep me in place. That one question about the shop floor. Are we doing that one?
Yeah, sure. Should we do that one?
Mm-hmm.
Transition. All right. This one is from Trisha. Thank you for the fantastic podcast. As a longtime amateur woodworker, I have learned so much from your crew over the past several years. What has been most surprising is how much knowledge I've picked up during my commute to work and then been able to apply directly in the shop. My skills and confidence have improved significantly due to your podcast and the fantastic unlimited website resources. Due to work and location, I'm not able to take woodworking classes, so the videos have been incredibly helpful. All right, so my question is related to setting up a new shop. And I think that Trisha and her husband are probably awesome people, it sounds like, because check this out. I've been using my husband's workshop for years, but he's tired of me rearranging things and trying to improve his space. We're currently adding on a 14 by 25 extension to our garage, which will be my woodworking space, so he can focus on car rebuilds. I heard Mike talk about his woodshop floor on the past podcast, but I can't find the episode again. I know he said he put down 1 or 2 coats of shellac, but didn't follow that up with a coat. But did he follow that up with a coat or 2 of quick dry oil-based poly? And did he allow it to cure for several days before moving the machines back in? You don't remember, do you?
I do. The thing I sort of forgot about is I put down shellac before the quick dry poly. And yeah, it was oil-based, just a min-wax quick dry poly. I was going to not finish it. It was just tongue and groove plywood. I thought it's like super cool and it might be too slippery if I put a finish on it, but it's really weird. But trying to sweep unfinished plywood, it's like impossible.
Oh.
Like the dust won't pick up and the broom just kind of gets stuck sweeping. So yeah, so I went just with like a mop brush, super quick, shellac, and then the quick dry poly. I may have thought about stopping at the shellac and decided maybe it wasn't durable enough, and the quick dry poly dries really fast. I don't know that I waited too long for it to cure. Like I don't think I was like really disciplined. I need to wait 4 days or something. I waited till it was dry, but
Because you're not going for appearance. It's like, oh no, my shop floor got scratched.
Yeah.
It's more like you needed it to do the function.
Yeah. And I know some like oil finishes for floors, it does take time for it to cure, to harden up. Like it'll be dry, but not hard. So maybe because it was a quick dry, it didn't suffer from that as much. But again, to your point, I wasn't redoing my living room. It was just my shop, and I really want to get my stuff in there.
What did you do to your floor?
You
put the mic in your face.
It's bare plywood.
Just no finish.
No finish. There's shellac in the corner where my shellac can exploded. But other than that, there's no finish. But what reminded me of this question was the slippery aspect of whatever she's going to put down on that floor, because it's a problem here too.
Yeah.
On the linoleum, like we're going to have to put sandpaper or something down. Barry wasn't complaining about the slippery floor by the jointer at all.
Oh my goodness, yes he was.
Yeah.
I was there.
Oh, were you there?
And he was like, first off, Converse and these floors do not get along at all. But he had like a 12-inch wide poplar board going across the jointer, and he can't get traction at all. He was like doing the running man.
The jointer treadmill.
He was like a mime walking against the wind.
So that the clamp and the hockey tape reminded me of this, of whatever she's going to do. And Brian Newell is at my house using my shop for a couple days to do a project on the East Coast. So we had dinner, and we were going over these questions last night, and we were talking about the slippery finish on the floor too. And I remember in our old shop, so the raw plywood is great. You know, it's kind of gritty and
it cleans up. You can brush it. You can sweep it.
You know, I want to get one of those. I don't sweep it. I kind of go with the dust collector hose, but I want to get one of those attachments for the dust collector hose to do like a vacuum. They must work, right? Did I ask this before?
I don't know, but our listeners will tell us in the comments.
Oh, that would be interesting to read. But in the old shop in 191, we used to have the sandpaper adhesive things by all the machines, which was great.
I really thought that somebody had just dropped them there.
No.
It was strategic.
And I'd often spray mount on the floor too.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Huh.
Yeah, because I was just picturing Barry taking a nosedive onto his big wide board on the jointer. Where is the jointer? There it is.
It's a hard one to miss. On the last show, I'll mention this because we had so many people reach out to me about it, and we had talked about the stall mats.
Yeah,
getting stall mats in here, and we were saying, yeah, how do you even move them? And there must be like a secret society out there, something of people who've actually moved stall mats, and because everybody was like, C-clamps. You take C-clamps, clamp them to the stall mat, and now you've got handles, and two people can move them no problem. And so if there's any listeners out there who were nodding their heads with us when we talked about putting stall mats in here, that's the answer there. I heard that I'm trying to think who said that they did a water-based finish on their plywood shop floor and let the grain raise and just left it, where you're supposed to sand it. They just left it, and just to add a little bit of that grit. My favorite shop floor that I've been in, though, is Duncan Gowdy's. He has Advantech, which is like a really hardcore MDF, like roof substrate kind of thing, painted black. And it looks fantastic. I mean, of course, Duncan Gowdy's shop is going to be beautiful, but it looks fantastic. And just a great surface to stand on and all that. But that's what I wanted to do at my shop, but I ran out of money.
Maybe I'll milk paint my shop floor.
Yeah, that'd be super cool.
Maybe I won't.
Couple layers, different colors, so you have the wear-through areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
just get better with age.
Right.
Right?
Wow. That's thinking ahead.
Huh.
All right, this next question's from Kurt. And I put this in here because I didn't know what a carriage maker's plane was. And then I Googled it. In Shop Talk Live, episode number 64, Mike's tool bomb was a carriage maker's plane. He had it for about 10 years and never used it. 1, does he still have it? 2, has he ever used it?
Yep. Nope.
I thought that'd be a quick one. So for those who don't know, can you describe a carriage maker's plane?
Carriage maker's plane is a regular hand-sized plane, like a number 5, but it has a full-width blade to it. So that has little cutouts on the sides of the body, so you have a little blade that goes all the way across. So it's like a really giant shoulder or rebate plane. And it seems really cool. And I got it because I thought I was going to do like, it's good for raised panels. It's good for, I think I got it just for doing like a little beveled panel for drawer bottoms. And I thought it'd be really cool to have a dedicated plane just to do a little raised panel on the bottom of a drawer bottom that nobody will see. And I ended up not doing that very often. So, and it's such a nice plane, I can't imagine like letting go of it. But
Did you buy a new one? Is it like a...
Lee Nielsen. So if you're looking for one, I highly recommend it. It's a fantastic plane.
Yeah.
So maybe assess your need for one.
Are those also called a jackrabbit plane?
Interesting. I don't know. Maybe so.
Sorry, I should have known the answer to that before. In other news, it has become painfully clear to me that I do not know how to spell rabbit as in the bunny.
It's hard, right? Just transition, style and style.
I was texting somebody the other day and went to say like, oh, check out this rabbit hole I went down. And I was like, how do you spell rabbit? That's not a groove on the edge of a board.
Right.
So
you're cramping my style.
Just one more example of how woodworking
ruins us.
Gets into every part of our, Veritas calls theirs a jackrabbit. I don't think, and Lee Nielsen would call theirs a carriage maker's plane because they would be traditional about it. So
I would say so.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all we have to cover on that, right?
That's it.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. This question is from Damon. I've converted my bench plane collection from vintage Stanley planes to all Veritas low-angle planes. When I built my workbench, my understanding was that a woodworker who often uses bench planes would generally benefit from having a relatively lower bench, and I sized it accordingly. My Veritas planes have a much more upright tote than the vintage Stanley, so it seems like from an ergonomic standpoint, they might call for a relatively higher workbench height. What do you think? I can imagine Mike saying something like, just put a scrap of wood under the legs and raise it up and see if you like it that way. And I'll probably do that. However, I think an interesting conversation could be had about how changing the tools we use, like my situation, or if you were going from Western saws and planes to Japanese style, could benefit from other changes in our workshops to effectively use them. So I like talking about bench height in general.
Yeah. I think it's a really good question because I don't think there is a one size fits all. Traditionally, if you're doing primarily hand tools, a lot of planing panels by hand, the bench is typically lower because you usually have a wider, lower stance as you're hand planing. You get a lot of power behind it. And if you're using power tools, like you're working with a router or something, you want that to be up a little bit so it's more comfortable to use. So I don't think the angle of the handle on a hand plane is really going to change the height of the workbench that you want because you're using those handles to push the tool forward. So whether it's upright or angled, I think your body positioning is still going to be really wide stance, really low, 2 hands on the plane, locking your upper body together and just driving with your large muscle groups, your legs. So I don't think I can't see how that would change. So what'd you decide on when you made your bench? Were you thinking about that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Well, I kind of went the Michael Fortune route and realized that I hand plane 4% of the time I'm in my shop. Mm-hmm. And if I'm spending a large amount of time at the bench, I'm carving or I'm fitting something or I'm doing just about anything other than hand planing. So my bench height is much higher. Well, I have 2 benches now. So I have a built-in bench under my window, and that is much taller. I think it's like, I think most benches are around like 43 or 44 inches or what, maybe whatever. And mine's about 4 inches taller than most benches, I think. And I like that because I'm standing more upright. But if you are a hand plane user and you're hand planing all of your stock, I think that's much more important. But I think it's kind of silly to set your bench and therefore your body positioning based on something that you're not doing all that much.
Yeah, that's a good point. Chris Bexford did a really good article called Work at the Right Height. So he did 2 things. So he had a bench, which is he's a tall person, so I think the bench is somewhat tall, but where he was doing some hand planing and wanted to get more on top of the work, he had just this platform maybe 4 inches high that he kind of slid out from under the bench to stand on when he wanted, in effect, a lower bench. And then he had a twin screw, sort of a Moxon style vise that you clamp to your bench top, and that, if you're sawing, it's kind of nice to have that workpiece elevated a little bit. And then I think he even had a higher tilted platform that he used when he was doing like letter carving and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I think, I think the height is important, but I think there are ways to work around it. So, I guess I'd say if you are going to be doing some heavy hand planing and that's suited to a lower workbench, I guess you can start there and then always figure out a way to elevate that platform. Steve Latta did a great bench thing.
That's right. Yep.
Because he does a lot of inlay and fine work and
that basically lives on his bench, right?
Yeah, it does.
It was either you or Barry that told me that's basically his main work surface.
Yeah, he does a lot of work on it.
Yeah. So that's super cool.
You have 2 different workbench heights.
Well, yeah, because one of my workbenches is also my outfeed table, so that's kind of determined by the height of my table saw. Do you find that when we're doing videos and you're working at that as though it were your main bench, do you find it's a little low?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you feel that at the end of the day, do you think?
I don't know. I just know going from one to the other, so it's good for hand planing and stuff, but I tend to do all my finer work at my other workbench, which is a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I raised my outfeed table bench up about an inch from what it was, just so that it was at a better height for the table saw. And if you are adding blocks on or anything like that, hot melt glue is like the best way of doing it. Because if all of a sudden you decide, nope, it's not going to work, you just lift up a corner of the bench, whack it with a hammer, and it's gone. And
I like that idea.
Yeah, it was a really, really quick way of raising it, and solid as can be, unless you whack it with a hammer. So
I'm a little curious about having all of your planes be low angle.
Well, the blade is bedded at a low angle, but because the bevel is facing up instead of down, you can change the effective cutting angle from very low to very high. So I think you could still have a variety of cutting angles with bevel up planes only. Maybe some extra blades maybe you have a blade that's honed at 45 degrees. So if you ever want to do some really difficult woods, you can throw that in there. Are you thinking you think it's limiting, or you just don't like them enough to only have them?
I'm thinking that I don't think it's limiting. I think it seems like extra work but I guess if you're using some more difficult woods, maybe it's less limiting. I don't think I've ever heard anybody only having low angle planes before. Do you both only have low angle?
I think if you have a low angle smoothing plane and jack plane,
which I would.
That's like only 2.
That, yeah.
It's not like 14 low angle planes.
Yeah.
It's just like a pair. I could see that. I know Lee Nielsen, they often recommend as the first plane to get is to get their low angle plane because it is more versatile.
Didn't Chris do an article on that?
I think he might have.
Or was it Garrett?
Yeah. No, I think it was Chris. Okay. Yeah.
I could very easily see if I didn't have the number 3 that you sent my way, I would probably have gotten the small low angle bevel up, and then I'd be all low angle. But I don't have that many hand planes though, so
I guess I
have so few hand planes that Mike just gives them to me just to be like,
"Here, Ben, take my plane."
Oh, come on, man, just take it, please.
I have just a low angle number 4, and I typically just save that for end grain, either shooting the end grain boards or like, the ends of tabletops or something like that. Low angle cuts end grain a little bit more easily. And also because end grain kind of beats up your hand planes a little bit, I can save my smoothing planes for other stuff. So I always just have my low angle is always maybe a little bit beat, but I don't care.
Yeah, I don't think I realized that reasoning for you until the foundations course, because you had said, if I'm doing a lot of shooting, like on a little box or something like that, it's all focused in one area of the blade. And if I did it with my regular number 4, I would have to sharpen immediately.
Yeah.
And it made so much sense because I was like, why have a dedicated plane for that? But it's like, that one's getting beat. It's getting beat in one focused area.
Yes, and the rest is perfectly sharp.
Yeah. Do you ever like if you're doing boxes where you're hand planing the miter and everything like that, do you ever add a shim under the stock or something
just to use it a little different
hit a different part of the blade?
That's interesting. A lot of the traditional shooting boards have a ramped bed so that by the time you start low to high, you're using a wider area. I've never thought of that per se. I don't know. That's interesting.
All right, let's take a break. Triton Tools have been making specialist woodworking tools since 1976. In the past 20 years, Triton have become famous for the caliber of their routers. Unique patented features such as built-in router lifts, rack and pinion height adjustment, and the automatic safety switch cover have made Triton routers workshop favorites right across the globe. Now, Triton's excited to announce a new router in their lineup, the 1.2 horsepower TMN RTR trim router. Both plunge and trim bases are included as standard. The plunge base retains Triton's prized built-in router lift, and the trimmer base offers a roller edge guide attachment for use with bearing-free router bits. Here's what you get: 1 router, 2 bases, unlimited possibilities. The Triton trim router is available now at Rockler, Woodcraft, and many other stores. All right, this question is from Sri. I know Sri. You know Sri.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And a great woodworker.
Yeah. Actually, I took a finishing course with him, and so I said, yeah, like I know he's a great woodworker. We didn't really do any woodworking, but he was in a finishing course with me of Mike Michelli's.
Oh.
Did you notice that every single question is directed to Mike? Or Mike is mentioned in every single one?
Usually it seems like they're always directed to Ben.
Yeah.
No, it's always like, hey, Ben, can you ask Mike? Everybody's on the ball, and they know that I'm the one reading the email. Actually, you're the only other one who reads the emails. No one else reads the emails.
I read them. Yeah.
So if you're going to say anything bad about Mike, he's going to read it in the shop talk.
So just be assured I will see it.
All right. I built Mike's Hayrake table a few years ago. Finally felt capable enough to tackle a chair. Kevin Riddell's Arts and Crafts chair in white oak to go with the table. Good choice.
Yeah, excellent choice.
First chair came out reasonably okay. I love that. Reasonably okay.
That's him. It's like nothing's going to be, and it turned out perfect. Like Sri will never, that will never come out of his mouth, even though I'm sure his work is fantastic.
Yes. Following Rodell's plans and Mike Michelli's fantastic upholstery video series, now I feel up to the challenge of making a full set of 6 chairs. I plan to make 2 chairs at a time. In case I screw up a step, I don't want to ruin all the chairs at once. But to get over the drudgery of stock prep, I wanted to prepare all of the pieces to thickness and width for all 6 chairs over a couple of weekends. At my working pace and starting in mid-August, I have no idea when he sent this. It will probably be November. They have been done since November. It'll probably be November since before I get to the last pair. I'm hoping Thanksgiving dinner will be seated on the new chairs. No pressure. Is there a downside to thicknessing to final size months in advance of the build? Almost all of the joinery is mortise and tenon, including some slip tenons. There are a few half-lap dovetails for stretchers. A big hello to Mike. I've taken a couple classes with him at Connecticut Valley School. He didn't say anything about taking a class with me.
Maybe it was before you took the class with him.
That would have been a long time ago, and I really owe him an apology.
I think it's a good question. And I think for a chair, most of the parts are pretty roughly square in cross-section and thick. So I don't think it's probably going to move a whole lot. I would just do what Bob Van Dyke does, which is just mill it all and just immediately wrap it in stretch wrap. Everything, all along the length on the end grain, and as long as you keep it away from the air and the moisture changes, it's going to stay straight. And the idea is you just pop it open, work it right away while it's straight, and you're good to go.
I have a problem with Bob's technique, and it's a me problem. But it turns out I put other things in that bag and forget I put them in there.
Oh, yeah.
So...
Like what other things?
Other pieces of wood. So I milled up a couple of ukulele backs, these beautiful cherry boards that I stole from you, Mike, that actually you left in the old shop. And
Fair
I
enough.
claimed. and I milled them up.
You have to give them back if I have to give the tool wall fixtures back.
Listen, they are cut. They are ukulele shaped and have things glued to them at this point.
And the mine are screwed to the walls, and they have all my tools on them.
But so I put them right on a piece of Baltic birch plywood, and I shrink wrapped them to within an inch of their life, and then I wrapped them in a garbage bag and shrink wrapped that. And I started assembling wood for my next build, and I couldn't find my spruce tops. And like, these are things that you have to get at a luthier supply, and it's not cheap, and it's weeks or whatever. It's like, I can't believe I used all of those tops. Well, I just said, okay, fine, I'm going to order new tops. And like, I even pulled up the website. Thankfully, I didn't hit. I was like, let me get working on the backs. And I pull them out. And I was like, there they are, right under the cherry, just smashed in there. And I know what I was thinking at the time. Well, if I'm milling these, I might as well mill these and smash them all together and keep them all flat.
Yeah.
And they're perfectly flat, even at 2 millimeters thick, perfectly flat from a year ago when I milled them. So Anissa, you warned us. You have a lot to say on this subject.
Well, yeah, but it kind of, I think, don't mill this stuff until he already made one chair, right? So that was kind of like a prototype.
Really made all the routing jigs and stuff for it. Got all the processes down.
He's already got the design from the Rodell article.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not working out the design.
Right.
And he's already done the one chair as a prototype to get him through the construction. I think if he's milling this stuff up all at the same time and he has and he's making those 2 chairs, I think he should push through and do all the chairs in a shorter time frame.
I agree.
Because August through November, depending on where he is, how climate controlled his shop is, I would not want to take the chance of milling it all down to size and then have it warp or twist. I mean, didn't Bob get that huge shipment of maple in for a bench class? And he had it drying forever before he started milling it up. And whatever happened with that wood, it totally went wonky, all of it.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if he wrapped it or what the deal was, but I remember him saying, I have had this in the shop for forever air drying. And when they went to mill it up, it just went all over the place. I would say you've got the system down. You did one prototype. Get them
You're
all
ready
done.
to go. I like that answer much better. That's a great answer.
Well, he's also probably more likely to introduce more error in setting up every task 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
You know?
it's all about, for that chair, it's dialing in your machine setups. And that depends on 2 things, is dialing it in and then having consistently sized stock. So even if you milled all the stock at once, but then you had to reset up all that machine work later on, you're doing work that you shouldn't have to be doing a second time.
Yeah.
So how many chairs? 6 total, or he did 1 and 5 more? Or?
That I don't know, but it sounded
Either
like he
way.
was doing maybe the first one was okay, and he wants the next 6 to be woo.
So even 6, that's only 12 front legs and 12 front. It's not a lot of pieces in a chair.
Oh yeah, sounds super simple.
Yeah.
Have you ever made that many chairs at once?
I made 4 of those chairs at once.
Really?
But I started by making 1 to get all of the templates and get everything figured out. That's when I discovered the master wedge, which is the key to simple chair making. It does everything for all of your angle cuts. I won't digress any more than I just have.
He slices with it. He dices with
Yeah,
it.
so I made 1, and then I was actually working with a friend, and we were going to make 2 chairs in 5 days because I was working with him for 5 days. And we thought about it and said, well, let's make 4 chairs. And it went really quick. So that was 2 people making 4 chairs in 5 days. But it isn't like it would take just one person 10 days because once the machines are set up, it's not that much more time to do everything.
And most of the time you're on Instagram anyway. So.
It's true.
Making 6 chairs sounds like
A good plan. Don't discourage him.
I know. Well, no, he's done. I'm positive of that.
I'm curious
He's probably
to know if
made
he's
12,
done.
12 chairs by now. But like that really does sound like an undertaking.
Yeah, that was funny. It's like I was talking to my friend Andy, who's a professional furniture maker, architect, cabinet maker. I was talking to him, and I think I said something like the most horrible commission I could ever get was a commission for like 12 dining chairs, because I'm just stuck making the same thing over and over and over. And he, as a professional woodworker, said, "Are you insane? That's like the best kind of commission because you design it once and then make it 12 times." I thought, okay, I would still rather not make 6 chairs or 12 chairs.
You don't want to make 2 of anything. I remember one time talking about, I was making a side table. And I said, oh, well, I'm going to remake this again. And you were like, oh, man, that's another opportunity. It's another opportunity to make something new. And I was like, it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah. I say
I
some
wound up
good stuff.
not making anything. And I have an old radio as a side table.
There you go.
So.
But I like the idea of having a dining table that has all different chairs.
Yeah.
Somewhat similar but with tweaks. A little bit different for each one. I don't have that at my house, but I think that would be cool.
That's what Mike has.
I have one chair I made with Jenny Alexander, and one chair I made with Mike Dunbar.
Oh.
And then another arts and crafts chair that
one chair I made with Krenov, and one
I know, right?
one chair I made with Lincoln.
And one is an arts and crafts chair that I designed for my book. So
that's only 3 chairs.
And then the rest are just flea market arts and crafts chairs that are a little bit creaky and is that called? You can kind of flex forward and back, loose joints. I have
a Boggs chair that I made that my wife sits in, and then I have a couple of I think they're Shaker Workshop chairs, which are nice, rush seat that Katie rewove the seat on. One of them needs to do the other one. And then there's 2 like flea market, thrift store, whatever, oak monstrosity, like what did Pinson call it one time? The oak tragedy. These chairs are the definition of oak tragedies. But they're the ones that give Windsors a bad name. But one of them I repaired and glued up and it's solid as can be. And then the other one I am stress testing. And I'm just kind of waiting to see when, and I'm the one sitting on it. So and it's just, I decided, I wonder how long this chair can last like this. And it's just slowly, like every now and then a new rung just goes dunk. And it's just like, okay, all right, we're getting closer to that line where I got to bring it outside.
You don't have cats, do you? That wouldn't be sitting under the chair?
No. All right.
I'd love to have a Brian Boggs chair.
Super comfortable.
Well, when I was at Hank Gilpin's shop the other day, he has, I guess he's done trades with Brian Boggs, but he has a bunch of different style chairs around his table that he made. They're so comfy.
Yeah.
Bexford has a few Brian Boggs chairs around his table in his showroom too.
I really thought I was going to like take that class, go home and make 3 more.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that if I had taken that class and bought the jig package, which I highly recommend, because that's a mountain to climb.
Right.
It's like and now the knowledge is hazy, or the experience is hazy. And I every now and then I'll see, a class opening somewhere. I'll be like, should I do it again? But definitely if you're ever taking a box chair class, get the jig package.
It's a good idea, the jig package thing.
Yeah, very much. This next question is from Cole. A question about using epoxy over PVA glue. Almost all articles on adhesives really only reference epoxy as a good gap filling option. The long open time is an obvious advantage, and I've heard makers such as Tim Rousseau mention it on the podcast. My question is on glue-ups, large or small. Are the two mating surfaces properly fitted joints, i.e. mortise and tenon, starved of epoxy after assembly and squeeze out? Or is there enough remaining epoxy within the joint for a sufficient bond? So I think the question's more that normal fitting joints, is there enough epoxy?
Oh. To make it work.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd say a normal fitting, like mortise and tenon dovetail, because you're not clamping the mating surfaces together. It's just the fit of the joint. So there's always going to be a little bit of either open fibers or a little bit of a gap. And any uneven fit of the joint is going to enhance your epoxy glue joint, I would imagine. I think you could probably run into a starved joint if you're using epoxy like on a edge glue up, like for doing a large panel or tabletop. Then maybe too much clamping pressure may starve that joint.
I wonder because I don't think epoxy is normally as viscous as PVA glue. So I don't think you can push it out or, squeeze it out of a joint as easily. I use the West System 24-hour. And I always, in my head, think it's going to be a lot more viscous than it is. And, I think, I'll be able to just like squeeze it in there with a syringe or something like that and like get a small little syringe for a repair. And it's like, no, that's not going anywhere, I right now have the 24-hour epoxy, and then I have West Flex, G7 Flex or whatever. And that's a 3-hour epoxy. And that will spoil you because you don't have that like, can I wait a day for this to be done?
Right.
With, epoxy is always like 5 minutes or 24 hours.
Yeah, and that 5 minutes goes fast. 5
minutes is not enough time to do anything. 24 hours is like a commitment. 3-hour, the G-Flex 3-hour epoxy, I think you get 90 minutes of real open time or 75 minutes of real open time, which is, unless you've got real issues, plenty.
Should be enough.
That stuff is perfect. I can't stomach the cost of it, though.
Well, all epoxy, really.
Yeah.
The G-Flex is that much more expensive?
I think it's like $20 or $30 for like, a squeeze tube worth of it, So I only use it when I need it. The 24-hour stuff I use all the time.
Rob Hare did that gorgeous outdoor chair, and he used epoxy for all of his joinery. And he did the thing where he added I think it was called Flocks to the West Systems.
Oh, yeah.
And he talks about glue a bunch in that article and why he's using it why he's supplementing it with that in certain spots and not in other spots. And I think that was all the West Systems long drying time, if I remember correctly.
I think that a lot of, for most woodworkers, and Mike, like Bob, who recently did, an article and talked about gap filling with epoxy, but for most woodworkers, epoxy is not a first grab item. You use it when you need a gap filler.
Yeah, if I have a whole glue up and there's one tenon which is a little loose, instead of getting all the veneer and stuff, I'll just mix up some epoxy just for that joint.
Yeah, okay. But like, there are some woodworkers who really, Tim Rousseau being one of them, he is very used to having a 24-hour glue up now, He uses some fancy, it's like a 2-part almost paste or whatever. He orders it enough that he can resell it, I think, to other people. It's impossible to get like at a woodworking supply. But yeah. I use it. I actually break out the scale and weigh part A and part B and everything.
Rob Hare too.
Well, because it just, like, one pump is more than I need from the West thing every single time. It's like I'll do a pump and another, and it's just, I use a third of what I just made up. So I squirt as little of the part B in as I can, and then weigh that, and then do 5 times that in the part A, because it's easier to control that second pump. But yeah, I'm a really big fan of epoxy and G-Flex, especially. But
yeah, I think it's a great tool. I think once you have it, you know how to use it. It ends up working its way into your workflow.
Yeah. But I don't think I would worry about your joinery being too tight with it. Yeah. Rob. Not Rob.
Cole,
thank you. I said Rob because I wrote down Rob Hare under the thing.
Oh.
And a bird just flew in the window.
Oh, the
shoot.
cardinal. Yep.
I hate when they do that.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's going to be a thing down here.
We'll have to put.
It's not that they see themselves and they're attacking themselves. It's not the
Thinking
old.
that it's another
Yeah.
bird.
Right.
We should get, the vinyl things that you could put on windows. We'll get Barry's face and put them on all the windows.
Poor Barry.
So it's just Barry looking out at the birds, and they'll be like, ah!
Just so the listeners know, you and Barry are really good friends.
We are?
Okay. Now it's awkward.
No, Barry's a good egg.
Does anybody have any all-time favorite tools or anything like that?
Hockey tape.
You're right. Sorry. I forgot.
I have a recommendation, though.
Yeah?
I started watching, I'm embarrassed, Killing Eve. Has anybody seen that series on Hulu? It's very good. It's very dark. Very complex characters. It's like an exaggeration of every human emotion and neuroticism, and it took me a while to get into it. It's kind of a cool show, but dark. Great clothing. Super funny characters. That's all I got.
I feel like we've been in one of those show droughts where it's just like we get together to watch TV at night. It's just like, oh, this is awful. And we just sit there scrolling through Netflix until we watch another Seinfeld.
Oh.
Or it's like we can always start The Office again. It's like, all right.
That's West Wing for us, yeah.
Blown Away. Have you guys seen that? The glass blowing
Yes.
reality TV
Yeah,
show?
that's great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then we started watching, I had heard it was great, and it's amazing the stuff that they're making out of glass and the tools that they're using. And I realized that it was so quiet in the hot shop when we started watching Metal Masters, which is the same company that did Blown Away. And I know they have a woodworking one coming out
Oh,
soon-ish, maybe.
it was a great pottery show. It's a British show, which is wonderful. And there's this cooking show called Great British Bake Off. Have you heard of it?
Get back on that.
And there's one on painting, like portraits.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, that's like really good. They have like bring all these people in and give them 4 hours with live models in front of them. And it's like amazing.
That would be stressful.
I was going to send both of you a text recently because every year for Easter I do these little drawings for my kids, and I was using your pen and your pencil on them, and I like them both a lot for different things. Like I was doing the flowers with the pen and the Pokemon. Oh, I did one of the flowers with your pencil and Pokemon drawings with the pencil, but they're both fun to use.
We started watching the Is It Cake?
Oh, yeah. We did too.
Yeah. The thing that's kind of hilarious to me, though, is like at Netflix, it's like they're just like, you got an idea for a game show? Yep, do it. Just do it. And it's like they're not, like the rules change from episode to episode where they're like still dialing it in, but they're just like, no, this train started. We can't stop now.
I think they finally hit the wall with game shows with a show called Floor is Lava.
Oh, that's the best.
It's like, really? It's like, no, that was me and my brothers jumping from couch to couch and not touching the floor. That's not a game show.
Yes, it is.
Oh, there was a Saturday Night Live skit about the game show. Why'd you like that?
Yes.
Did you guys see that one?
Yes.
Somebody sent that to me last week.
Well, let's talk about that off air a little bit.
So funny. I will say that I know they're making a woodworking Blown Away thing because the one guy who does their casting reached out to me to help him, to give him some recommendations for judges. So I'm kind of anxiously waiting to see who they got as their judges.
Not Mike, obviously. So what the hell?
Me, obviously.
Not me.
What's the format, do you know?
I don't, but it'll be good. Hopefully it'll be more I was more into the glass one than the metal one.
I've always wondered, how would you have a woodworking, like what would a woodworking competition show be? Would it be like, today you're making end tables?
I mean, I think it's got to be over a longer period of time.
Yeah,
Like,
than
you
the
gotta-
4 hours or the 10 hours.
Yeah.
You gotta-
So let's say they get, with the metal shop one, they got like a
They got
day or
10
two.
or 12
Okay.
sometimes. Yeah. But with the glass, it was usually 4 hours.
Yeah.
And they had assistants.
Yeah, but glass is easy.
Really?
No, I'm joking.
Oh.
That looks like a nightmare to me. But
cool.
what would your ideal game show or competition show be? You get 2 days?
For woodworking?
Yeah.
I think at least a week.
Yeah, I think a week too.
Yeah, I think you're basing it on reality more than a TV show. I can't imagine them giving anyone a week to do anything.
Why not?
It's all pre-recorded.
Okay.
It's in their own shops.
What if it was like the knife making show where like you do a series of competitions and then you go back to your shop
Right.
and you get like
Yeah, you get a 3-day build or
that might be
forge or
cool.
whatever. Yeah. I don't know.
I think they should do a reality TV show in an environment like the Krenov School, where you go in, you spend the whole 9 months there, you get these 23 people who come together without knowing each other and get dumped into this sink or swim kind of environment that's kind of this fully immersive thing. And like, there you have it.
And
And
they
the
should call
final
it Krenov Island.
the final challenge is, okay, now get a job.
That got dark.
Because that was the first, wasn't that the first reality TV show where they put all those people in the house together? What was that called?
Oh,
That was the first one, really.
The Real World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the real world versus, or combined with woodworking.
The Real World, Fort Bragg.
Speaking
Yeah.
of jobs in Barrie,
Now, are we ready to get to
yeah,
Mike is like, oh, yeah.
does he know?
I'll tell him.
Okay.
When is this going to air?
2 weeks or
I'll
so.
tell him before that.
All right.
Barry, unfortunately, is going to be leaving us coming up of his own volition. Unfortunately, we will miss him. However,
I fired Barry.
so we are going to be in the hunt for an editor to replace Barry. So if you like woodworking, if you like visiting shops of your woodworking heroes and taking pictures and looking through their drawers and their lumber piles, and you want access to a state-of-the-art, although somewhat messy shop, let me know.
It's not that messy.
It's not.
Yeah, I guess we will have a link to the job portal. Are we at that point?
At some point, I'm totally
right.
jumping the gun. We haven't even put the description up or
Okay.
anything.
Well, just start getting your resume together.
Yeah.
That's that's a better.
More info to follow.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah.
Contact Ben Strano at taunton.com.
That's not my email. That's the best part of it. Well, that does it for this episode of Shop Talk Live. Special thanks to Jeff Rose for mixing and getting the video together for this episode. If you are watching on YouTube, please click that thumbs up button. If you have a question you want answered on the show or a discussion starter, please send them in to shoptalk@taunton.com. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Thanks for listening. A what?
What?
Huh?